My husband had an affair with my sister, and now both families are torn apart. It's been several months since the world as I knew it fell apart. It started as a seemingly normal day. I had just finished work and was looking forward to a quiet evening with my husband. Little did I know that a single phone call would change everything. My sister's voice trembled on the other end, and the moment she uttered those words, "I need to tell you something," my heart dropped. As she confessed her affair with my husband, I felt like the ground had been ripped from beneath me. The shock hit me like a tidal wave. I could barely comprehend what I was hearing. My sister, my own flesh and blood, had betrayed me in the most unimaginable way. The anger and hurt coursed through me like a poison, and I could hardly catch my breath. After hanging up, I sat on the floor, staring into space, trying to process the chaos that was now my life. I had always trusted my husband. We had built a life together, and I never thought he would be capable of this kind of betrayal. And my sister. She was supposed to be my confidant, my support system. How could she do this to me? I decided I needed to confront them both. I called my husband, and when he answered, I could hear the tension in his voice. "We need to talk," I said, my voice steady despite the turmoil inside me. We agreed to meet at a local cafe. I arrived early, my heart racing as I imagined the confrontation ahead. When he walked in, I could see the guilt written all over his face. I didn't waste any time. "How could you do this?" I demanded, my voice sharp and cutting. He sat across from me, visibly shaken. "I'm so sorry," he said, his voice trembling. "It just happened. I never meant for it to go this far." His words felt hollow, and I could feel the rage bubbling up inside me. "What do you mean it just happened?" I shot back. "You had an affair with my sister. This is not something that just happens. This is a choice you made." I could see him flinch at my words, but I didn't care. I needed him to understand the weight of his actions. We argued for what felt like hours, each accusation cutting deeper than the last. The betrayal was not just between us, it had torn apart our families. I could only imagine how my sister was handling it. The thought of them together, laughing and enjoying each other's company while I was oblivious, made my stomach turn. After our confrontation, I decided I needed to speak to my sister. I called her, and the conversation felt strained from the start. "We need to talk," I said, my voice cold. We arranged to meet at a nearby park, a place we had spent countless hours together over the years. When I saw her, I felt a mix of emotions: anger, hurt, betrayal, and a small part of me that still loved her as my sister. As we sat on a bench, I looked at her, waiting for her to speak. "I'm so sorry," she began, tears streaming down her face. "I never wanted to hurt you. It just happened." Her words mirrored my husband's, and I felt a wave of nausea wash over me. "How could you do this?" I demanded. "You knew how much I loved him. You knew how much I trusted you." The tears flowed freely as I spoke, the pain spilling out of me like an open wound. I know," she sobbed. "It was a mistake. I never meant for it to go this far." I shook my head in disbelief. "A mistake?" "This was more than a mistake. This was a choice you made repeatedly. You chose to betray me." As we spoke, it became clear that both my husband and sister were struggling with their choices. They had put their own desires above our family bonds, and the repercussions were devastating. I felt like I was trapped in a nightmare, watching my family crumble before my eyes. The fallout was immediate. Both families were torn apart, and there were heated discussions and arguments. My parents were devastated. They couldn't comprehend how their two children could betray each other so deeply. My husband's family was equally shocked, torn between loyalty to their son and empathy for me. The family gatherings that had once been filled with joy now felt suffocating, tainted by betrayal. Days turned into weeks, and the emotional turmoil felt relentless. I couldn't escape the feelings of anger and sadness. I needed to process everything, but it felt like I was drowning in my own emotions. I spent hours talking to friends, seeking advice and support, trying to make sense of what had happened. Slowly, I realized I needed to take care of myself. I started going to therapy, hoping to find a way to heal from the betrayal. I learned how to express my feelings and understand the pain I was going through. It was a long and painful journey, but I knew it was necessary. I had to reclaim my life and my happiness, regardless of the choices others had made. As time went on, I made the difficult decision to cut ties with both my husband and sister. I couldn't continue in a relationship where trust had been shattered beyond repair. The pain was still raw, but I knew I had to prioritize my well-being. I focused on rebuilding my life, surrounding myself with supportive friends and family who lifted me up. Eventually, I found a sense of peace. I recognized that my worth was not tied to the actions of others. I began to rebuild my life, setting new goals and rediscovering my passions. While the pain of betrayal would always linger, I was determined to move forward. I learned valuable lessons through this experience. I discovered the importance of self-love and the strength it takes to let go of toxic relationships. The journey was not easy, but it shaped me into a stronger person. I learned to trust again, but this time I did it with my eyes wide open. In the end, I realized that sometimes the hardest lessons lead to the most profound growth. The betrayal had shattered my world, but it also paved the way for a new beginning. While my family may never be the same, I found solace in knowing that I could rise above the pain and create a life filled with love and authenticity. It was a long and arduous journey, but I emerged stronger, ready to embrace whatever life had in store for me.